consent agenda. Everybody's received copies of that. We have our agenda, the financials, and the minutes from last meeting. Are there any additions or corrections or notations that anyone would like to make? If not, I would entertain a motion to approve.
I move to approve the consent.
And a second?
I'll second.
Second, Phil. Any discussion? All in favor, aye.
Aye.
And opposed. Very good. Public comment. And our public gathered. Vicki, Bill. Everybody quiet, just anxiously awaiting to hear all of the information to be passed. All right. Well then, Ms. Lana.
All
you
right.
have yours.
Good morning.
Morning.
We still have had no updates from any of the Department of Commerce RFIs that we've submitted.
Little echo.
I think I'm echoing a bit. Sorry about that. So I'll continue to follow up with them and see if we can find out any information on where we're at with those. Project Green River, we can now let you know, is the Garden City Co-op. And we've been working with them since last July on finding them a location that would work. They had to have rail, they had to have good access to the site to allow them to do a shuttle loading facility. They may eventually add some additional services to the site, but they have closed on the property and said it is okay to make their project public now. So now we're at the point of working with the city of Holcomb. The property that they selected actually is within the city of Holcomb. So we will finish the development out for that. We met with the Neighborhood Development Services Office last week, got things worked out with them as far as fencing and, good morning, Larry, and what all they need to do to prepare the site. But fortunately, Bob and Steve were able to meet with the county administrator last week to discuss a very short road that's platted in the county and will have to be improved to allow access to the site. So for those of you who aren't familiar, this is the site that the city of Holcomb annexed in several years ago now, several acres, a couple hundred acres, located just to the south and a little tiny bit west of Holcomb. KJK was the previous owner of the property, so.
Just in clarification, it's kind of where the Clutter house is. That's kind of where it is.
It's that.
Oh, it's old, guys.
And they did not
Push it a
purchase,
little closer.
they did not purchase the residential. There is still a home there in the center of that property. They did make an offer on it, but they did not purchase that. So that piece is not included in what they're doing. Excuse me. Housing Project 821, we worked with a consultant to apply for some community service tax credits to purchase or lease a 3D printer for housing, rapid concrete construction, and were awarded those community service tax credits, applied for those through the nonprofit housing corporation that we work with. So they'll actually be the ones who have the tax credits and are able to sell those. We just did complete a moderate income housing application for the same project and met yesterday with the 3D printer. There's a company that's doing leasing of the 3D printers, and we met with the contractor, the nonprofit, and the folks who are doing the leasing of those to determine what makes the most sense. As you can imagine, that technology is changing pretty rapidly on the 3D printers, so we feel like maybe the lease is a better way to go up front just because it allows us to continue trading out equipment as the technology improves. So the MIH application had to be submitted by Monday afternoon. We did get that submitted, and we'll see what the Kansas Housing Resource Commission does with that, but hopefully we're able to get some additional funding to go towards that. The first project is slated to be in Holcomb, and they would work with, assuming we're able to get the RHID approved for Holcomb, which we feel fairly confident about, we would be able to use the RHID for the infrastructure costs. Any questions on that before I go on? Okay. Project 521 is a housing development west of Garden City. As you know, we've been waiting to determine what was going to happen with wastewater out there. And I do have an update on that, the county opted to have FCEDC take the lead on that wastewater study. So we did sign a contract with them, and they're coming out next Friday. The Friday after, no, next Friday, October 8th, yes, for a kickoff meeting and take a look at the site and the area and get the information they need so that they can begin their work on that, so.
I'm sorry, who did you say it was that you contracted with?
PEC.
For PEC is who's gonna do the wastewater study.
I'm
Mhm.
sorry.
No, you're fine, yeah. Other projects, Project Daytona is a mixed-use project that we're working with a developer on. We don't currently have appropriate zoning designations that allow for mixed use, so we're working with the Neighborhood Development Services Office to present some ideas to the Planning Commission in order to approve some zoning clarifications that will allow the project to happen. We'll share with you some of those as those ideas come out. We'll share with you what some of those look like, but you know, our goal is really to preserve these for areas that are very suited to mixed use, but will allow us to do housing, commercial, retail, everything, offices, kind of all in one small area. So very popular, obviously, in a lot of the urban areas to create those walkable, livable, workable neighborhoods. So. Project Redwing, this is a project we're working on with a local developer. He is just about ready for us to go public with this, so we'll take it to the county fairly soon. We've had some discussions with the city on the tax increment finance district and such, so hopefully we'll be able to talk a little bit more about this at the next meeting. And lots and lots of meetings. We have had a couple of meetings now with the Veterans Memorial. I think I told you guys that some of the folks with the Vets for Veterans, the American Legion, and the VFW met with us. We sat down with First National Bank President Matt Bennett and talked through the space that they're reserving in Project Rochester, the First National Bank development there coming down the hill from Target. So we've got a committee assembled that includes folks from the city, Parks Department, and Planning Department, and we'll put together some ideas. The veterans groups asked that we come up with some design ideas and then let them pick from those. They really didn't want to be too involved in the weeds of it. They just want something that they can all be proud of and that the community can be proud of. So we'll continue to work on that. And the High School Graduation Requirements Task Force that we're meeting just about every other week for 2 hours at a time now. And those discussions are going well. I'm one of just a handful of private representative. The rest are engaged in education. So that's going well. And I'm on the subcommittee that's really focused on value added. So making sure that our students graduate with workable skills that they can take into the workplace with them, whether they go to college first or go directly to the workforce. Dr. Watson really wants us to come up with ways that we can better prepare our students for what our employers tell us they need. So if you have ideas on that, don't hesitate to reach out and share them with me. And other than that, the Future Fellows Group, we did have our first meeting. We ended up going virtual with that. That was a lot of hours on Zoom, but it worked out okay. We at least got a pretty good start on where we're going. That group is completely focused on coming up with ideas to better opportunities for children and families in Kansas. So excited to be a part of that. There's some pretty high test folks in that group. There's just about 10 of us all together with the working group in it. So hopefully we'll get some things accomplished and improve opportunities. Any questions for me?
I'd like to tag on just a little bit on her high school curriculum changes. It really dovetails into what we've been working with on the Governor's Council on Education. One of the big obstacles is we can't really teach and work with a lot of these essential skills if we have this mandated block of hours that we have to do each and every year, trying to get everybody ready to pass that test. So if we can come up with a situation to where there are other credits that can go in and replace some of the mandated ones, It'll be really good, and to have Dr. Watson, who's head of the Kansas Department of Education, in favor of change, it's amazing, because there's a whole lot of people out there that change, but we've always done it this way, and it's really difficult to make that change. And it has been, just basically over 100 years since these were this curriculum was established, so it's time to take a serious look.
One would think it's time to take a look, yeah.
But I think it's really,
A little different working with academic people.
Well, as Bob said, it can be challenging because we're taught to do it a certain way. We've done it a certain way. So I think there's a balance, right? We don't want to not prepare our kids. We don't want to not expose them to all of the other things about education that may attract them. But I think we're far enough into this now, especially with the way our pathways have worked at Garden City High School and Holcomb High School. I think we're far enough in to know now that students who self-identify in a specific career path tend to stick the course with that. So the more we can do to speed that education, to improve that education, and really to keep the ones engaged who we're losing right now. That's the biggest challenge from my standpoint, is if we find a way to keep those kids who sometimes would disengage otherwise, if we find a way to keep them in the education system and better prepare them, I think we're all going to be in a better position.
so it sounds like in your reports, there's quite a bit happening with a housing type situation. How about our other pet project called daycare?
Yeah, called childcare, yes. Childcare and early learning is coming along. We're making progress. The city did allocate $600,000 of their ARPA, American Recovery Plan dollars, to the Child Care Network. So that the Child Care Board met last Monday and discussed how exactly we'll be able to put those funds to use. The county has talked some about doing something, but I've not heard anything further. I know they had sent a plan to their consultant, and that's the last I've heard, so I don't know where they're at on that. But depending on whether or not the county is able to come up with funds, we'll be able to, I think, act pretty quickly. I think the board is all pretty much of a similar mind to move forward quickly.
Now, quickly is, we've kind of learned, sometimes quickly is tomorrow, sometimes quickly is 8 months.
Yeah.
There are still several steps. Once the quote-unquote money is available, then you hire a professional and apply for a permit.
Well, we don't have to hire a professional. Fortunately, Jeanette Turpin, who serves on the board of directors, has been serving also as the interim, if you will, executive director. So she's been able to apply for everything that we've needed that required an executive director person, if you will. So if, provided we're able to get everything moving forward, she can restart the licensing process right away and move pretty quickly. So
Is there any chance it could happen by the end of the year?
I would never, ever, ever assume that KDHE would be able to meet any timeline that we might set for them. It's a challenge. The regulatory environment is a challenge, and it doesn't matter who you talk to, and it doesn't matter how prepared they are, and it doesn't matter how perfect the building is. The regulatory is an issue. So certainly one of the things we have to fix. But for our standpoint, I think the fact that we've already had them, we engaged them early on, so they're very well aware of the building. They understand, the work that's gone into the design of it and so forth. So we would like to believe that will give us a leg up in working through them.
It would be awesome to stand before our community in January at our annual meeting and say,
Here it is. Yeah,
Okay.
It would.
Thank you.
We'd all enjoy that. Thank you.
Anything else for Lana? All right, thank you. Ms. Nicole?
Good morning.
Good morning.
We've continued work on the freshman career fair, which we've changed the name to Academy to Career Day. Still same concept, just changed the name a little bit. We had some confusion from employers, the difference between a job fair and a career fair. So we understand what that is, but I think when they think that, their mindset is, I need workers. So that was just a little bit of confusion. So I think if we've changed our marketing a bit to educate the employers that this is really about opening the door to those younger kids on the employment opportunities that are available to them in Finney County. So And that is scheduled for Wednesday, December 1st. Registration will open on Friday, and we will have that open for roughly 6 weeks. So we'll get that out. It's on our website, and press release will go out on Friday. As far as community development, we have finally got the chat study engaged. RDG was working with the state on a statewide housing study, so everything else kind of got pushed, and then census data has been an issue, so everything has just kind of been pushed back later in the year. But at the end of August, we conducted 5 community meetings in 2 days, and had some really good feedback on housing and where we need to go. And she is hoping, as long as she gets her census data tomorrow that she needs, that she should have a report next week to us. So that,
Wow. That could really help.
I think so. I think so.
And that community assessment tool, just to remember, the housing tool is, our hope is that because we've really focused on unincorporated areas of the county as well as city of Holcomb, we'll be able to get them qualified for the RHID. They have not been able to utilize that because the chat hasn't ever shown enough demand in those 2 areas, so.
Now, on the census, did you give them that government type stuff, or did you give them the real stuff from Shannon?
She has both. She actually
And
told
she
us.
loves it.
She told us this year, because we got Shannon's information for her, and then Coldwell Banker gave a whole bunch of local market data, and she was like, I am inundated with data, but she loves it. She said, I have never received this much from any community, so she was very appreciative
Good.
of the work that her community, and the fact that the community was very engaged, she appreciates as well, so.
So your various meetings were well attended?
Yeah, they really were. I think the only one that was smaller was the early morning one, and it was okay because it was county, and they really got to talk about their role in this and getting, incorporated in it. We talked about sewer district and all of those things, so it was good for them to just kind of have that one-on-one time, so
Okay. Thank you.
that's it.
Anything else for Nicole? Well done, very informative. Mr. Cottrell.
Morning.
Good morning, sir.
See, Lana pretty much told you all the news about the sewer study, so I'll skip that. Getting close to being finished on the early documentation for certified sites out in the envelope area around Quimby. Hope to be able to send that out to the partners for some review and comments by the end of next week. Lana mentioned the co-ops project in Holcomb. That was in her absence last week at all of her meetings. Bob and I had the opportunity to meet with Robert Reese from the county about the road issue. We did get one RFP from KDOC for a monster building, which does not exist. So I said, thanks, but call us when you have something real. On Project Redwing, the environmental assessment is underway, should be wrapping up here fairly soon. The initial boundary and topographic surveying has been done, so the engineering can move forward. The surveyors can get planning completed and submit rezoning and everything through the Neighborhood Development Services. The TIF district will be the first of its kind in western Kansas, and there may only be less than a handful anywhere in the state. State statutes don't allow counties to create TIF districts, but the statutes that allow cities to do it say they can do it in the county with the county's permission. So we basically have to run simultaneous mirror processes in the city and in the county, but we'll get it done. So we've had initial discussions with folks in city and county levels. Had a conference call last week with the developers bond council or TIF council, and that was a very good meeting. So everybody's pretty confident we'll be able to get rolling and within 6 months or so have everything completed through all of the governmental processes. Shannon had a contact from a restaurant group looking at additional sites, so we had a good lunch meeting with them. Talked about places, and they are actively looking at a couple of the sites we showed them. Lost River may actually see dirt moving by the end of the week.
Oh, really?
The issue of their infrastructure bonding appears to have been finally settled, and hopefully there'll be a pre-construction meeting today or tomorrow and kick them loose. In anticipation of that, they have sewer manholes and sewer pipe is on site. So they are ready to rock and roll.
And that's for the first phase or
First
the entire
phase.
project?
Just
Okay.
first phase.
Okay.
Yeah, the first 37 lots immediately adjacent to Pioneer Road. Had a few meetings with potential developers about multifamily housing in either Garden City, Holcomb, or the county. They're from out of town and way out of town. And then they keep coming back, so I know they're interested, and they keep bringing more of the family with them. So I think something will actually, may actually come out of that group. So very pleasing at times.
So have they actually looked at some property?
Yeah. Yeah, in fact, they had a meeting in Dodge City yesterday with the Lost River developer about a portion of his property as well.
Oh, wow.
So, yeah, they're asking the right type of questions, and it's getting them familiar with the RHID process. You know, because they like a site in Holcomb, but right now Holcomb's not eligible. They like the site potentially in the county, but we have two issues, RHID and sewer. So, hopefully we're getting them steered in the right direction to hopefully the first of several projects they've worked on here.
Do we have any idea how long that sewer study will take for that?
About a month.
Okay.
Yeah, they're gonna, when we have the kickoff meeting, we'll meet in the office, and then they're gonna head out and drive the neighborhood,
Okay.
get a feel for the land, and look at all the sites, figure out where they might wanna do some test borings for possible lagoons and things like that. So they're ramped up to move quick.
And then this study then will quote unquote give a rough order of magnitude
Yeah.
of what the project would be and what the county's commitment would be to do something like this.
Somebody's commitment.
Somebody's commitment that would do that, and then make a decision whether that can go forward and these other dominoes can start falling.
Yes.
Okay.
So will they size that to potential developments that we have for the area, or will they size that for more at a later date?
Well, the areas that we are looking at for the certified sites, you know, they will size that based on some general industrial flow requirement or standards that KDHE has. You know, so many gallons per day per acre.
Right.
Certain types. And if we've got any decent data on one of the RFPs we've responded to that might say this, we could have, you know, X come in here, and, you know, they may need, it may be an industry that would require pre-treatment before it would go to into the sewer. So any data that we've got, we'll share it with them. They'll also drive the neighborhood and see what's existing as far as the potential hookups, run laterals in to industrial, commercial areas that are currently on septic tanks. You know, once once things happen, kind of like domino effect in Southwind. You put in the backbone of the sewer system. Some of the early folks were on septics, and now they're tired of failing septics, so they want them out of the district, so.
Okay.
And areas we've identified as potential housing, I've worked up some rough guesstimates of what kind of number of units would go in. So we'll use KDHE standards for, X number of residential units going in.
Good.
So it'll be scientific guessing to some extent. but,
Swag method, yeah.
Hopefully a little more than a WAG
Okay.
with an S on it. So. And then just in general, I got to speak to the Rotary Club at their September 1st meeting. It was odd, it was 3 years ago on my way out as a city employee that I spoke to the Rotary Club at the same meeting this month. And it's pretty much the same people. Give or take a couple. And then I had the pleasure of substituting for Lana at the September 7th commission meeting that she took credit for on her calendar meetings. But I covered that one and Scott covered.
We
The
had budget
budget.
meeting after that I was at,
Okay.
so thank you, Patrick.
Oh, you're
You
welcome.
did very well.
You're welcome. Yes.
Any questions for Steve? I know he's tired.
Any questions?
I think we're,
Restaurant different than, what, Black Bear that's supposedly coming to town?
What, Blackfoot?
No, the one I think you're talking about is
Supposed to be across
the
from
guy
Ness.
from Ness.
Yeah.
Dighton.
Dighton,
Dighton.
okay, what?
Black Dog
Over
Bistro,
Black
whatever.
Dog.
Yeah,
I just followed them a little bit. They are optimistic about within a month or two. I mean, they've been doing work on that building over, what was it, Solely Luna?
Luna,
or-
uh-huh.
That building that's over by the,
across from Dillon's West.
yeah.
Yeah, over by the car wash.
Yeah. So, yeah, I mean, they're talking about it, obviously, because there's a lot of folks in Garden City who have talked with them and know that they're looking to move in there, but we haven't talked with them to see if they're, if they have an absolute plan yet.
So that answer was yes.
Oh, the restaurant groups that we've been working with?
Right.
Yeah, no, those are different, yes.
How about the movement out at the shopping center, the old shopping center, I guess, where Penny's was and Sears? and
Garden
all
City
that stuff.
Plaza.
So how's that all working out?
Yeah, so I think we told you guys that they did announce that they've got Ollie's Bargain Outlet moving into the former J.C. Penney's, which that was a big hole. Obviously, that was going to be a challenge if they didn't have that space leased, but it is leased. And I connected them with, we've got a group working on the former Sears building as well, and they are pretty far down the purchase side of that. They're in the due diligence period right now. So I connected the two of them together, the two owners, so that they could talk through what their plans are. Obviously, it makes sense if we can keep both sides moving forward at the same time. That will probably look a little bit better versus having one side get completely renovated and the other side wait. So, but they're feeling good about it. The owner of the J.C. Penney side has been very, very responsive to us, really, since I first was able to finally get a hold of him a few months ago. He's been very good about getting back and talking with us. So I feel good that they'll get that completed pretty quickly. And then the Rochester side right across the street from that should start moving right about the same time. So we'll probably have all of that get redeveloped all at one time, but we don't care. We just want it all redeveloped.
How's Napoli's coming along?
Good, yeah. Unfortunately, the owner has some health concerns in his family, so he's been in and out quite a bit, but he's really fortunate. He's got some very good friends here in Garden City who have kept his project moving forward while he's been out of the country dealing with that. So, yeah, so far so good.
Any projected dates on opening? No?
No, I haven't felt comfortable pushing them to that. Like I said, they've got some
Sure.
pretty significant health
Issues.
concerns right now, so.
Okay.
We're, they obviously have to get out of the airport
Yep.
before the airport starts
So
starts
when's that
work,
start?
so.
When's the airport start?
Should be starting in October.
No,
They're taking
December, January.
but they're taking the final, right? Aren't they taking the final days in October? So, yeah,
Slow
so
down.
he's got a little bit of
Government
time to work
issues
with.
Type of things, yeah.
That's one of the government really quick, fast tracks.
There you go.
But that's okay, it allowed the city to get the rest of the financing secured, so.
There you go,
Good.
have time.
Good.
So,
Okay, anything else for Steve? Thank you very much.
Thanks, Steve.
Scott, we welcome you back and good to
Yeah.
have you here.
Thanks. It's like I never left.
All right.
It's all been just a mirage, a dream, like on Dallas.
He was on sabbatical as well.
I was on sabbatical. Learned a lot about myself. I handed out the report. GreaterGardenCity.com had about 3,300 visits to the website over the past month. I broke down each week of the last 5 weeks. You could see how many visits there were. The most visited stories or posts on the website were Fall Fest information, the event calendar, homecoming parade information, and a story about Heartland Dermatology. Then on the Facebook pages, Greater Garden City had about 1,500 post views in the past month. And Garden City Journal had over 90,000 post views over the past month. The top posts on both were like Walk-On's Sports Bistro announcement, Nobility's announcement, the college getting a grant to become STEM Central Hub for Western Kansas, Mexican Fiesta information, and the Tinker Shop owner's retirement announcement. Also started posting more on Twitter each day so that I'll have those numbers regularly too. And we're also going to change up the website a little bit to make it updated and look prettier, I guess, more informative.
Have
Any
they made the
questions about-
announcement who the new owner of the Tinker Shop is? No? Nicole, is that you? Your spare time?
I'm real good on spare time right now.
It'll be interesting to
Thanks, though.
see whether it'll be an entity or whether the property was
Yeah,
more than,
purchased and
yeah,
razzed or whatever, yeah.
so, if they ever finish that street,
Yeah.
so.
It's taking a while, isn't it?
Yeah. Anything else for Scott? I think we look forward to having more communication out with our public and,
Yeah.
sharing a little bit more about what's going on around them.
Mhm.
So, sounds great. Good to have you back.
Thanks.
Thanks.
Appreciate it.
Shannon,
Good morning.
good morning, sir.
I'm glad I got the notice too about what to wear.
Uniform.
Thank you. One thing that's not on this report, I was able to, we had a meeting yesterday with just the scoring, the data people from KDOT. So we've got a little bit more details about that. I don't have anything, nothing really enough to do a presentation about, but it is kind of worse than we thought. The main thing is that what they called economic score was just basically commuter traveling time saved. So 25 points out of our 75 points total was do commuters save time in the trips, which really we're gonna lose out on because we don't have as many commuters as the do in Eastern Kansas. So, so we got some more information on that. We can help them with that. They were interested in the idea of using economic data for economic scoring. So made progress.
That would be unique.
It makes sense, yeah.
Made some progress there. I mean, it was a really good meeting. I mean, it wasn't, I make it sound like it was like terrible. We got some good information and good progress, and I think some good things came about it. Some of the things that I thought was weird was just weird because they didn't give us all the data, and they said, oh no, we used something else. So it was good. Anyway, the one thing I wanted to talk about today is just go over COVID because we haven't, I mean, for a while I was doing this every month, just talking about some of the data that was going on with COVID, and I think when we don't bring it up, you just kind of, at least even in my head, it's just not a thing. So I pulled some hospital data, pulled some KDHE data and health department data. So at the hospital, and this is just over the last 2 months, so this is only our hospital, only since August and September. The average number of conferred patients at the hospital is 11.2, so every day we on average have had 11 patients with COVID in the hospital at a time. The average number of new COVID patients admitted each day has been 1.4. So every 2 days we get about 3 new patients into the hospital with COVID. And then the average ICU bed occupancy, and remember there's those 8 beds, has been 6.8. So over the last 2 months, We've been right about 7 out of 8 beds full. There's been one time for one day that they actually had 9 beds out of 8 possible full. So, I mean, it is a very thing, I mean, it's still happening locally. If we look at some of the data about the patients that are coming in, the percent of the patients that have COVID that are in the hospital, 90, just a little bit over, 90% of them are not vaccinated, so 9 out of 10 have not been vaccinated. So the majority of the people that are going into the hospital do not have vaccine. So there's something with that. The percent of hospitalized patients that have died over the last 2 months is 7%. And so that's about roughly 1 of every 14. So if you go into the hospital, you have about a 1 in 14, with COVID, you have about a 1 in 14 chance that you will die, just over the last 2 months. That's the data.
So you gotta stay home?
Yeah.
Well, I don't know if you're at the point where you need to go to the hospital with COVID. I'm saying going to the hospital is probably a better chance than staying at home. If you're at that, I'm guessing the chance will be a little bit.
So the numbers don't just necessarily tell you just part of the story?
Right,
Okay.
still seek care.
So going
Just
to
know
the hospital
it
is not what's killing them.
No, from that.
Okay, just
I
for
don't have the numbers
clarification.
on
Thank you for clarification on that.
Well done, Bob. Thank you for asking. We were all confused.
And then the percent of hospital patients the COVID hospital patients are 54% are from out of the county. So the majority of the patients are actually coming in from outside of Finney County at the hospital. Some pretty good news on the vaccination front. We actually we're the first ones to pass 70% of our eligible population to at least get 1 dose. So we're at 70.1. Johnson County is actually a little bit less, but they round up to 70%. So we have out of all of Kansas, we have the highest rate of eligible population with getting at least 1 dose. And we're not doing too bad with the complete series. We're 33 out of 100 and some counties. And so we're just over half of our eligible population has completed the vaccination series. And then the last thing that I want to touch on is this positivity rate. Last week it was like 30 something. This week's about 25. And remember when we started this positivity rate, when people were saying like, oh, we have a 6% positivity rate or 12% positivity, the world is going to end. And we were saying, well, don't worry about positivity rate. That's what we really need to worry about is how many new patients we have and how are we doing in the hospital and stuff like that. And so now we have this 25% or 36%, and we're getting dinged on these scorecards that KDHE is putting out there. And I'm going to say, with our current situation and our current resources, I would like to see that positivity rate to be at 100%. And why do I say that? And the reason that what this positivity rate is that's somebody coming into the health department, taking a test, it's showing up positive. The thing that we have now that we didn't have a year ago is rapid tests that we can do at home. Ideally, and freely available, the health department has them, we have them in our office, you can get rapid tests that you can take at home. Ideally, everybody who has any idea, has had contact, has symptoms, anything, is taking these rapid tests and self-screening to say, do I have the possibility of having COVID? And if you do the rapid test at home and it comes up positive, go out to the health department. If you do the rapid test and it's a negative, don't go to the health department. So ideally, we're self-screening everybody in, so we're only burning the health department with people that are probably positive. So for some reason, the state views this positivity rate now as if it's high, that's a bad thing. Whereas I'm saying, well, if we have the ability to self-screen, we want everybody to self-screen as much as possible. That means people who might not have otherwise been into the health department, if they take a rapid test at home, and then they see it, I mean, this is what happened with my wife. I mean, she would never have tested positive at the health department if we didn't have the rapid test at home because she had a headache and you're like, well, I might as well be safe than sorry, and it turned out that she was positive. Same way, if you have symptoms, let's just do a rapid test and it'll come out negative. We don't have to go to the health department. So again, some things are never different. Don't worry too much about the positivity rate. We actually, from my side of things, I would like to see it as high as possible because that means people are taking the test at home and then opting in, and we're not burdening the system with people who are negative. And then the last thing I included just the chart here, just to see where we're at because we have had a recent spike in cases. So you can see our previous 2 large spikes that we had last year. And you can see that we do have a spike. It's nowhere near as many people It's a little bit wider, so we don't know how long this is gonna go, but it's a little bit of a fatter curve than that first one, but that's kind of the shape that we're at. So, any questions or anything?
Are you gonna share this Monday at the county commission meeting when we have the
I
quarterly
don't, I
report?
don't have this, but I could add this because
I think it'd be very
presentation over.
important,
Okay.
because there might be a person or two who watch that meeting that don't watch ours. And I think
Yeah.
it'd be really good
Okay.
to have the rest of the story, because today in the media, you know, when you look, it says, you know, rural Kansas is not vaccinated. You know, here, I think we're still
Yes,
rural,
yeah.
but we need to be able to share this story.
Well, and if it's rural Kansas not vaccinated, that's definitely not the case, because Dodge City, Ford County, Seward County, Finney County, a lot of Kearney County, we have some pretty high vaccination rates.
Right.
So, yeah, that does need to be shared. So I'll add
Okay.
this to the thing for Monday.
Good, thank you.
Shannon, is there any data on the accuracy of those rapid tests?
I know it depends on which one you take, and there's a couple going through. The one that you actually take and then you send overnight is the highest accuracy. I don't want to say what it is, but I mean, we're talking, I mean, more than 75%. And I was gonna say,
Like in the 90s.
I was gonna say like 92, 95%. So there still will be some false positives, which is, I mean, if it comes up positive, there's a chance that you won't have it when they do a better test, or there's a chance for false negatives. They err on the side of having more false positives than false negatives. If there's any chance they want you to say, oh, you might have it, go check the health department. So if it comes, or conversely, if it's negative, they want to make sure that you probably are negative when it says negative. So with any test, there's going to be that error rate, but it's pretty good. It's surprisingly good from where we were at a year ago with just even general testing. I mean, we're way better off than what the general test was a year ago. These rapid tests are pretty solid.
So has there been any comparisons on the stats from like when school started, like September, October, to what it's compared to in the summer when kids were not in school and those things?
Like the rate?
Yes.
I mean, if I was to do that, I would just look at our thing here. There hasn't been any like that I know of, like the county hasn't published anything that just says, here's what it's been over the last, during the summer, what it is now.
I think Dr. Carlin gave a report at one of the most recent school board meetings,
Mhm.
talking about how obviously they have seen quite an increase, and that
Okay.
they had some faculty that was actually in the hospital.
Oh, wow.
But we'd received, it seemed like there for a while, as a parent, we were receiving a lot of letters, like, if you have the chance, please get vaccinated.
Mhm.
Because they were seeing the increase, and obviously if you're under the age of 12, which we have a lot of students that are,
Sure.
that they were seeing obviously an increase in those younger grades. I think as far as middle schools, that was kind of a little bit of a crapshoot, I think. I think they'd seen quite a few increases in middle school, but from what I've seen in the high school, they've been pretty good. So, but I think last Friday they did a clinic, and I think this Friday they're doing another clinic at the high school, so they're making the efforts to get the kids vaccinated that choose to, so.
And I think they're at the college, they're also
Yes.
educating the students about, you know,
Well, and the
well, they're
college
offering
has-
$500
yeah, I was gonna say, you
bonus
can win $500.
to get the vaccination. So I talked to Dr. Ruda yesterday, and I said, I understand you guys are giving a little bonus to kids that get the shot. He said, yeah, we are. He kind of grinned and said, yeah, we're offering that up. So it's pretty cool to know that they're doing that.
That is all from the stimulus money.
Is it?
Right.
Good.
It's
Good.
not county tax.
Yeah, well, yeah. I assumed
We've
it was.
had that question already, so
Yeah,
Yep,
I'm sure
somebody
there
would
was.
ask, right?
they already have.
I'm glad you clarified that for
Right.
the general public, yeah.
Okay, anything else for Shannon? Or Shannon, any other topics?
No, that's good.
All right,
Short
thank
ones
you
now.
very much.
Thanks.
Good information. Look forward to Monday on just covering on that. We have our quarterly report to the county commission.
Okay.
Basically, Lana has prepared a report and it's been sent in for their agendas, et cetera. And we will be attending Monday and then giving the report. And Shannon's gonna give some profile of the various studies that we have all seen
Good.
and share with the commissioners.
And certainly any of you who would like to attend that are welcome to.
Okay, is there any new business that needs to come before the board? Or any old business? We will need a couple of executive sessions, one on client confidentiality, 10 to 15 minutes, Lana? And then a second one for non-elected employee, and 10 minutes on it. Our next meetings will be back on schedule for October 27th. And then going forward, we'll probably be looking at that November one in terms of, we're gonna have Thanksgiving this year.
Right before holidays. The 24th is the day before Thanksgiving, so.
Yep.
Unless y'all want to have turkey breakfast together, we're fine with
Well,
that.
actually, the last couple of years, we have met that Wednesday before Thanksgiving.
It hasn't, it isn't always a problem.
And what we'll do by next meeting in October, if we can kind of look at your social schedule, and if there's enough of us here to have a quorum, we'll just go ahead and leave that meeting where it is. So, but we'll make that decision next month on the November one. Okay, hearing nothing else, I would move that we adjourn to executive session. Thanks, Bill. Okay.